Okay, so now we're going to be doing routine 2, and we're going to be starting with the legs, doing leg extensions. If you don't have this equipment at home or you're not coming to the gym to do your exercises, I'll show you this on the ball. Okay, so we're going to be sitting down comfortably on our seat. You can adjust this accordingly to your height. If you're short like me, you'll pull this forward close, and then if you're tall, you'll actually lower this down. We want to take our legs over and then under. We want to scoop the bottom real so that our toes are pointing up. Our hands are not going to be holding onto the chest press machine. So make sure that this is back behind you, that you're not using it. Your hands are going to hold on this seat, actually, if you go forward for me. You're going to hold your hands down low on the underbelly of the seat. If this machine was similar to other ones, they would have handles. So just placing your hands under the seat, feet are in a flex position. Bring your chest back to the bench, or shoulders back behind you, and exhale. You're going to lift. Pause here until you feel your quadriceps contracted. Press your low back towards the bench, and then release. So if you don't have a leg extension machine and you're doing your exercises at home, a great alternative is to doing a balancing exercise. So you'll want to stand all the way onto one leg, bring the opposing leg up so that the knee is in line with the hip. This in itself can be an effort. So if it's too much of an effort, bring it down a little ways. Keeping the hands either on the hips or extending the arms out by our sides for better balance. We'll exhale and flex the foot so we're pushing out through the heel. So it just looks similar to this. If you're working harder, more of a challenge, again, we're using that balance. We're extending the leg out. If we're not using anything to support us in that standing balancing, it can be quite an effort. So we can always use the stability ball to use a little bit more core stability, bringing the arms to extend out again, putting all that weight into that one leg and working on challenge. Flex, back to center, and extend. Next, we're doing our split leg squat. So when we do a split leg squat, we want to make sure that our hips are square, tracking over the knees. Extend the one leg back, and everybody's stance is going to be different. So your stance might be short, keep the heel elevated, and go into this position where you're drawing the shoulders back as if you're sliding your back down a wall. This can be dangerous on that back knee, however, if you've got knee issues. So I recommend taking your leg back as far as you comfortably can go, lunging down, and then lifting. If you're advancing it even further, you'll take a wide step back, so you'll come from front position, step back, shoulders over the knees. Now I know a lot of times when we're first starting out, doing leg work is a lot more challenging than the upper body work. So if you've got some knee issues that you're working out, and you'd perhaps like to do a little bit less work at the beginning, we can always just work on stretching back in the chair. So we would do one leg back, and then the other, take it over to the other side of the chair, leg back, and then center. So we're still getting that nice stretch through the quadricep, and we're also getting what's called the iliopsoas stretch, which works at the hip flexor. Next, we're doing a hack squat. I know the name sounds funny, it's just the guy who created this exercise, his last name was Hack. When we're using the ball, we're going to be placing it against the wall, and we're going to be placing it behind our back. When we first did our fitness testing, I asked you to do a wall sit where you place your back right against the wall. This is similar, but the only difference is we have a ball between us and the wall. So there's even resistance between our back and the ball. We're pressing our back against the ball. Our feet are going to be hip-width apart or perhaps a little wider if we need more support. Make sure you're using running shoes and your feet are sticking to the floor. Weights are going to be by your side if you're using weights. And we want to exhale and slowly lower down so that our knees are tracking in line with our ankles and our hips are in line with our knees and no lower. So if we go too far down, we're causing too much strain in the knee or the meniscus in the knee. So we'll only go down as far as our body will let us today. So exhale, we'll stop where this is good for us today. If we want to work a little bit harder, we'll come down a little bit further and then press back up. This is a great exercise if you have back issues and doing leg work, working out your back. Okay, so we're going to do our our leg press, if we're not doing a hack squat, we can always use this machine as doing our quadriceps. You'll adjust back here accordingly to your height. So if you're tall, you'll push it back. If you're short, you'll bring it forward. You bring your feet and you'll square them up in the center of the press. You want to make sure that your ankles are tracking in line with your knees. The one thing that consistently happens when we're first using this machine is people will grab here to center themselves. The problem is when they press their feet away, they'll clip their fingers on a weight and you can damage your fingers. So try not to put your hands in here. That's what those handles are down here for. So when we first start, we're going to exhale, push the legs away by keeping a soft bend into the knees. Then slowly bringing it back. Again, we do the same cadence that we normally do with any other exercise. So it's 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So now we're going to do the Romanian deadlift, as opposed to a straight-legged deadlift or a stiff-legged deadlift. When we do a Romanian deadlift, this is how we want to create functional fitness in our everyday life. So if we're ever bending over, picking something up, maybe tying our shoelace, we always want to use this method. We'll bend into the knees, keeping our feet, again, parallel, hip-width apart. We're pressing the tailbone back, hinging from our hips, not at our waist. Oftentimes we see this movement, and that's what's causing impingement into our spine. So lengthening our spine, keeping it nice and flat. We're going to turn our palms of our hands towards the thighs and keeping our chest proud, keeping our back nice and flat. As we lean down, we want to think of our rib cage meeting towards our thighs. And again, if you have a larger body and you need more space for your belly, please take your legs wider apart. Everybody can go into this position, provided they bend their knees. So taking ourselves down. We don't have to take our hands all the way to the shoelaces. We want to go as far as we comfortably can go today. And then slowly exhale and come back up. As you notice, my arms are nice and long and we're not bending in the elbows. So that's where the dead weight comes from. The arms should be dead weight, lowering it down towards the floor and then slowly picking it back up. Now we're going to do the sumo squat. We're going to take our legs wide and our toes are going to be tracking the same direction as our kneecaps. So we're pointing our knees to the corners of the room and we're bringing ourselves down. Shoulders will stay over the hips. Before we go into that position, we're going to take our hands into a goblet position. So oftentimes you'll see this exercise referred to as a goblet squat. We want to hold our hands as if we've got a little bit of water in our hand or we're holding a wonderful goblet. We want to keep the elbows in tight by our sides and our forearms should be parallel with the floor. When we move into the pose, we want to keep our shoulders back over our hips and just as if we're sliding down a wall. Exhaling, keeping the knees tracking outward, and then slowly lifting back up again. Okay, now we're going to be doing the leg curls. This is a leg curl machine. I'm going to show you the exercise, how you would do it if you're going to be doing leg curls at home. This one, you're going to take and scoot your legs in. So this needs to be riding above the kneecap so that this is on your thigh. There's an adjustment here, so if you're a taller person, you can lift this up. I have it in position for where I need it to be. You can use the chest press machine to hold onto for support. Put all of your weight onto the one leg and bring your leg up so that it's curled onto your back of your Achilles. And exhale, curl up, releasing back down. You'll do the same thing on both sides. So putting all the weight onto the right leg, lifting up, supported, and lift. Now we're going to do the leg curl as the picture shows for your guide at home. You're going to grab hold of a weight. And again, you don't have to be using a weight. This just makes it a little bit more challenging. You want to be on your forearms, or you can just rest down on the floor. When you're in this position, we want to keep that weight pressing so your feet are locking together. And you're going to exhale, bring your heels towards your seat, and then exhale, bring your toes down towards the floor. This is a challenge, having that weight between the feet. So if it's too much of a challenge, just don't use the weight and continue doing the same exercise using that principle of mentally thinking that there's weight in the feet. So now we're doing our standing calf raises. This is the way that I would recommend doing them. You can also use the leg press machine to do your calf raises, and just placing your feet at the bottom so that the balls of the feet hit the press and keep your legs extending. Or you're doing this version, which I find to be a better version because it stretches out the Achilles. You use one weight in the hand, and you'll use a hexagon weight underneath your foot. I recommend that you use probably about a 15-pound hexagon weight underneath your foot so that that gives you enough raise so that you press your heel down towards the floor. You'll use something like the bench or a wall or something to support you. You'll lift up, putting a balance, dropping your heel towards the floor, and then lifting up. You can also use a book or stairs and lifting and lowering. By having the extra weight in your body, you're just lifting and lowering. Remember, some of you have already lost maybe 5 or 10 pounds. So having 5 or 10 pounds in your hand is just like that extra weight that you were carrying last week. And don't forget to stay hydrated. So be sure to do your leg exercises at least once a week. Your lower body routine is just as important as every other routine that you do. By activating your legs, you're activating the largest muscle mass in your body, and you're going to be burning more calories.